Okay, so a construction worker with no formal schooling downloads exotic physics from a blue alien being, and that physics is now being vindicated at the highest levels of government and aerospace. Sounds about right for 2025.
Okay, so as you can see, 2025 is turning out to be a very interesting year, guys. So supposedly a blue alien met this construction worker, and it made the construction worker download. You know, we've been speaking about downloads a lot. This information that's being used today in the highest standard of science. So that's a pretty significant claim to be made by my main man, Jesse Michaels. Check out American Alchemy. Really good channel, consistently high quality content, okay, just like here. So we're going to be covering this and that. So as always, subscribe, notifications on, comment, like, share, because that helps the absolute most. Without further ado, get your snacks, get your popcorn, because we're going to be watching some good stuff today, okay?
This interview was one of the most baffling and intriguing I've ever done on this show. Today, we will talk to a former construction worker. He was down and out and just scraping by. He then developed an interest in UFOs. Then, he had an interaction with a blue alien being that, according to him, caused him to do a deep dive into quantum physics. All of this sounded pretty crazy when I first heard about it. But since meeting this next guest, I've introduced him to a Navy scientist who's worked at the highest levels of government. Even he was extremely impressed and intrigued by this former construction worker's findings. I know all of this sounds insane, but it's true. Our next guest was also spotted by the legendary Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis, who have also noted his impressive knowledge in areas of unorthodox science.
Dr. Davis, thank you so very much for being here today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
A lot of this guest's interests in physics are in a special branch of it called extended electrodynamics. The scientific savant himself, David Rossi.
So one of my favorite quotes slash sayings in quantum mechanics, right? I've got to seem smart, guys. No, but like, you've got to, if you think you understand this shit, then you don't understand it. So that's it pretty much explains how rocket science this really is. It's weird shit, okay? And the science being built upon by quantum technology, for example, with the Willow chip by Google, and there's another one that was recently announced, can't remember the name. I think it was Microsoft. I'm not like entirely certain, but I know there is another one. And nothing's being built out of string theory, but out of quantum mechanics. People are finding ways to capitalize on such technology, right? So if anyone has more knowledge to why that is, please help us in the comment section.
I'm going to sleep one evening and it felt like, I don't want to use the word abducted because I think that implies that there was some negative connotation to the experience, which in this case for me.
Okay, so right off the bat, this motherfucker looks like a construction worker, am I right?
Graciously, there wasn't. But I remember essentially being, I guess you could say, taken by a blue energy type humanoid, if you will. There were no physical characteristics. It was just pure blue energy. And I really couldn't tell.
Why do you say humanoid when you say?
Well, because it had 2 arms, 2 legs. It was just significantly taller than you or I, for example, height-wise. And so...
And when you say no physical characteristics, it was like you could move right through it with your hand or something.
Essentially, yes.
Like a plasma being or
basically,
something.
very not really dense whatsoever, sort of like, right, a plasma, electric plasma type being. And I recall, again, I can't say for certain because I don't know if it was a physical experience or a purely energetic or spiritual one, but
Sure.
I recall opening my eyes and I saw all this basically white light around me, but it seemed like it was a very convex type structure. And then I recall I felt like I was very drowsy, and I recalled seeing this this blue being basically standing very close to my head. And then next thing I knew, I basically closed my eyes, and I woke up the next morning, and I had all of a sudden this extreme drive and inclination to study electrical engineering and quantum physics in particular, and I knew absolutely nothing about it. I failed math, I think, almost every year of high school. And so I spent the first 2 years from there basically learning. I had made some videos where I had discussed these type of concepts on my channel. Without getting into specifics name-wise, I was noticed by a handful of very nice gentlemen that seemingly saw some potential to what I was saying from a physics and engineering perspective. Gave some presentations to those individuals, and since then continued to learn. Many cups of coffees later, many late nights spent just reading paper.
Okay, so this guy can do stuff he couldn't do before. We've seen this with NDEs, yeah, and then people, suddenly speak an extra language supposedly, or have some musical or mathematical talent that they did not have before, whether it's brain damage or, it changes something. I don't know if it switches something on or whatever the fuck. But nonetheless, it's really intriguing, okay? So we're going to be covering a lot more about this in the near future, so stay tuned.
These were shown to me by this being as slinkies, so to speak, that exist all around us. You can use the potentials that exist all around us right now in the quantum vacuum to surveil an entire room.
How would you do that?
I don't want to say because it starts to overlap into stuff that's sensitive.
Oh, it's sensitive, guys. Fuck it, the fuck, right? Oh, it's so sensitive. Don't tell anyone. Oh, now the only thing is now you can't believe me because I won't tell you. But I know, trust me, bro.
I know a group that is working in the government that has been working on this since the 90s. And they've had massive success. There are things that I've seen in private laboratories that are undeniable and verified by people other than myself in those facilities.
Guys, I really do not know about this one. Please let me know what you think. Like, what are the fucking chances and luck that something bad happening to you turns out this fucking good, right? Now he's privy to all this kind of stuff. It like changed his life. It like put him on the path to, all this cool stuff. And he was a construction worker, Jesus Christ.
We recorded this interview in early December of 24. And at the time of its recording, extended electrodynamics was considered quackery, something you might hear at a zero-point energy conference somewhere in the Southwest from a crystal healer. But right after we recorded this podcast, the National Science Foundation and NASA co-sponsored a podcast with some elite scientists and engineers with serious credentials claiming to investigate, you guessed it, extended electrodynamics. I've also heard from multiple other Navy whistleblowers that this framework is very, very real and useful.
When you introduce the scalar field, you now have the possibility of at least 3 completely new kinds of waves.
Do you see what I mean by J.C. Michaels and American Alchemy? Guys, this is groundbreaking stuff happening before our eyes. People in the future are going to look back and be like, oh, this is where they did this is where, like, what the fuck? Us reaching for the next chapter in the sky, okay? We're going to be, like, everyday life is going to be changing so much. The Earth will not be recognizable in a few hundred years, I think. And I think some serious scientific and technological groundbreaking discoveries are coming in our lifetime. Guys, AI, all these developments.
But this former construction worker hasn't only agreed to come on my show, he's agreed to speak with any scientist at any level about his theories on my show as a follow-up. I thought that was a pretty decent show of confidence.
I mean, it definitely is, because, look at Terrence Howard and the scientist, the legitimate scientist with all the correct phrasing and terminologies. He came in and embarrassed the man on Joe Rogan when they debated each other. And yeah, it was pretty embarrassing. And I wonder what this situation would look like, because it is similar in a way, right? Let me know what you guys think.
Stop.